Hey guys, I'm Scott, and this is episode 2 of Gravity Nelson's How to Be a Pro Mechanic with Tools and Supplies That You Already Have. Today we're going to go over some trailside maintenance and repairs. I'll show you what I keep in my pack, the important tools that you should always have. I'll show you how to repair a flat tire, whether that's plugging a tubeless tire with a plug or installing a tube if you have to. I'm going to go over how to fix a broken chain. And then I'll show you some tips and tricks for fixing problems with hydraulic brakes that you might come across on the trail or getting to the trail even in some cases. Now let's get into things. I want to go through what I have on a daily basis with me whenever I ride. So to start with, I've got my 1-Up EDC pump. It's got this tool handily stashed inside. This guy is packed full of all kinds of goodies. We have a little multi-tool as well as a chain tool, spoke wrenches, and then this guy works as your tire lever as well. We've got this guy for inflating, but also this little piece unthreads. And if you also carry a CO2, you can use this for super quick inflating. I have this wolf tooth chain link pliers. You can use it to remove or install master links. You can store some master links here, and then this bit is a tire lever, and also this funky little triangular Y-shaped bit you can use to remove valve cores. I have this Dynaplug system. This guy is super quick and easy to access. It's got a large plug as well as a smaller plug, both ready to go super quick. I also carry a tube. Even though I have plugs, I still like to have a tube for many reasons, as you'll find out later. It's important to have the right size tube, right? Wrong. Any tube will work regardless of what size wheel you have. This little 26-inch tube I think has been living in my pack for probably 5 or 6 years. And this has saved me from flat tire situations with 27.5-inch wheels, 29-inch wheels, and the smaller size makes it a little more compact and lightweight. Next thing, I have this funky little tool from Stan's. This large hole can be used as pliers to remove a valve nut. You can use this end to pull out thorns from your tire or a sliver out of your hand. And then this big slot here works nicely. You can pinch this against your valve core and use that to remove your valve core as well. I always carry a rubber band. This is good for getting me out of pinches when I'm having some troubles with my brakes. I think this is a super neat trick that not a lot of people have heard of and can really save the day. I'll go over that at the end of this video. Next thing I want to show you guys is how to fix a flat tire. So the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out where your tire is leaking. Most likely there's a puncture somewhere through either the tread or the sidewall, and even in some cases right down by the bead. So figure out where that leak is, because you could also potentially have a problem with your rim tape, in which case you're going to approach it completely differently. So if you have a puncture, we're going to try and fix that with a tubeless tire plug. So you're riding along and all of a sudden your tire's getting low. Hop off, take a look. Let's look at this nail in my tire. I'm going to start by pulling the nail or thorn out of my tire with my Dynaplug here. I'm going to take this smaller, more pointed end, find my hole, and I'm just going to jam it in there. Now you can see the plug is inserted. Now I just pull this guy out and you can see that guy stays in there. Generally, we'll just leave this guy hanging here. Now let's say, rather than a small puncture through the tread of your tire, you got a big old slice in the sidewall. That's obviously too big for a tire plug to fix, so we're going to have to put a tube in there. But even with a tube, we're going to have to do something to cover up this hole a bit to keep the tube from just wanting to push its way right through that big old cut. So let's hope you got a little snack with you, because this wrapper will do the trick nicely. First, you've got to eat the bar. we have our wrapper now. We're gonna need a tube and a pump, as well as a tire lever. So we'll start by removing our wheel. We've got to get to the inside of this tire. So I'm gonna start by making sure the bead of this tire is popped from the rim all the way around, just by pulling it back with my hands. Now you can see all the way around, I've got this bead into the center channel of the rim. And that's gonna make it a lot easier for me to get my tire lever in here and then pull that side out, work that out. Sweet. Since I'm putting a tube in, I've got to take my old valve out. There we go. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to put a tube in here, you need to make sure there's nothing poking through the tire that's going to puncture it. If you had a small thorn in there, you may not even known about because the sealant plugged it up. It wasn't an issue before, but then with a tube in there, it might end up putting a hole in your tube. Or if you had a Dynaplug in there, that's got a nice sharp tip that's going to cause a problem. So you'll want to remove anything like that. Just get my tube ready. This 26er will work in my 29er. If I had a 29er tube, it'll work in a 26er. It might take a little more stretching or stuffing, but it'll get you out of a situation. I'm going to put the valve through the rim first and put the nut on there just to hold it in place. Next, I'm going to tuck the tube into the tire or onto the rim. This is where my 26-inch tube is going to take a little bit of stretching. But there it is, it's in. Now I'm going to find my sliced sidewall right there. And I'm going to take my wrapper, fold it in half, and I'm going to tuck this right there where that gash is. So I'm just going to hold it like that so I know it's in place, and I'm going to tuck that little bit of the tire onto the rim. Now, just like I did when I was removing the tire, I want to push the bead of the tire into the center of the rim, and that's going to make it a lot easier for me to get this bead, this last bit here, on. And if you need to, obviously, use your tire lever to get that last bit. Now I can pump it up. I should be good to go. All right, we're all pumped up and back in business. Next, I just need to put this back on the bike. You can see I got my tube in here, and you can see a little bit of the wrapper peeking through. That wrapper's doing a nice job of keeping the tube from bulging out of that cut. All right, guys, I'm going to show you how to repair a broken chain now. I'm not going to do this with the bike because I think you'll be able to see and better understand what I'm doing if I demonstrate it like this without the bike. So you can see here this pin came dislodged, and under stress it just gave out, and now we've got a bad link here. This is unrepairable. What we're going to have to do here is replace these two outer plates with two new or used master links, such as we have here. First, we need to get our chain tool out. Now we've got our chain pin pusher oriented nicely with this guy to give us some leverage. So you'll want to bring this out and position your chain link in here. So remember, we just want to remove this little set of outer links. We want to end up with two male ends like this. This threaded pin is going to push out the pin from the chain as it's tightened in there. And there you go. That snap means that pin is dislodged now, and we're just going to push it out. Sweet. There we go. We have 2 male ends now to work with. Get your master links here. And these guys work by way of this slotted system. So they slide in together, and then as the pins are pulled apart by pressure of the chain, they lock together. So we're going to install our pins here, one on each side, opposing each other. And now I'm going to put them together like that. A little bit of pressure, kind of get them settled in place, although it's going to take a whole lot of pressure to actually lock them in. And that's where this guy comes in handy again. Set him in to those links on either side of the master link. I'm actually going to pull it apart. There it is. Hear that little snap? Now they're locked together. And this is super useful for getting them apart as well. And again, now you just squeeze them together, a little snap, and now they are apart. So if you don't have those fancy master link pliers and you need to reset your link, you can see my link here. I've got it on the top side of my drivetrain, and if I just hold my brake and push on the pedal a little bit, it's going to put tension on the chain and pop it in place. Now that you guys have seen how to fix a broken chain, I've got one more tip for you. I'm sure you've had issues with pulling your bike off of a rack and all of a sudden your brake goes to the bar. Usually you can get it back with a little bit of pumping, but I want to show you guys how to keep that from being a problem. For one, you should definitely get your brake bled. That's the real root of the problem. But to keep that from happening further until you get your brake bled, you can band your brake lever shut with a rubber band that you have in your pack. So you just wrap it around like so. That closes off the master cylinder reservoir from the brake line, and it prevents air from getting from the reservoir into the line, and that's what's causing your problem. Now you can put it on a bike rack and you don't have to worry about that air getting into the line and causing you to lose pressure basically. Let's say you got to the trailhead, you had your wheel off in transport, maybe you had it in the back of your car or on the top of a bike rack, and you go to put your wheel back in and you realize that your brake pads are now a little too far in because your brake got squeezed. So the reason you can't get your wheel in after you've accidentally squeezed the lever is because this gap between your brake pads here has gotten too small. So what you can do is, using your tire lever, this nice smooth end here, you can use that to push those pistons back into the caliper, and that'll open up a gap inside there again for your rotor to fit in. And then once you do that, you can reinstall your wheel. Then you'll have to pump your brake up a little bit. Chances are that the pads are now too far out, so pumping it will bring them back into their proper position. Still give plenty of room for your rotor, but it'll give you that proper bite again. You might have to do a quick readjust, but once that's done, you should be good to go. One thing you can do to prevent that issue is get one of these guys. What this does is takes the place of your brake rotor when the wheel's out. It's got a nice little clip at the top so that when you slide it in, it stays in place, and that way when you squeeze your lever, it's squeezing against this, and again, keeps those pistons from coming out too far. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Thanks again for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please ask, and hope to see you out there soon. Cheers.